I mean, I was filled with guilt, shame. I was angry. I'm a 9-year-old little kid, and all I wanted was to be a geek, to be a normal person, to have a good mum and a good dad, and be like the other kids, go to one school. By then, I'd gone to 7 different schools. And that's not really okay. So I started running away at the age of 9. All kids will take away the right for a parent to speak to their life away from them, generally between the ages of 8 up to 16. When parents separate, mum goes this way, dad goes this way, all the kids go with mum, mum gets a new man, and this new man tries to tell you off, who are you? You're not my dad. And then all of a sudden, over time, they start to rebel, and it's too much of a handful for mum. They say the kid wants to go to dad. When they go to dad, the dad has a new wife, and the new wife doesn't like this kid because his culture's different. She's got her own kids. The kid doesn't fit here, the kid doesn't fit here. And then one day, mum or dad will say something, and he'll say, no, I no longer give you permission to speak into my life. If you've got a kid, you'd be able to tell with your kid. There was a time where all of a sudden you asked him something, and he says, Mum, can I do this? And you said no, and he stuck his chest out and he challenged your authority. You remember that? You remember her? Well, that's the day where he said, I no longer give you permission because you don't treat me right, you don't keep me safe. And then all of a sudden, as you get older and older and older and older, now mum's giving him a lecture and he doesn't want to hear your lecture. How can you give me a lecture when you didn't live by example? You exposed me to this. Most of you here, the result of why you are like you are is childhood trauma. If you've got kids, you'll see between the ages of 8, if it's a real traumatic experience, or up to 15, 16, there'll be a day where they say, Mum, Dad, I no longer give you permission to speak to my life. And they'll stick their chest out, they'll challenge your authority. That's the day where your job as a parent, you've got to reposition yourself and you've got to let them be a little man or a little woman or a little adult. You no longer have the permission to control them. But everything that you've done right up until that point, not only is it in their head, but it's also in their heart. The unforgiveness, the bitterness, the guilt, the anger, the shame. And I can see on this fellow, all his stuff is coming up. Correct? You feel it? Why didn't I grow up normal? Why aren't I like other kids? Why couldn't I go to one school, have one group of friends? Why did my parents let that stuff happen to me? Why do they just feed them faces with their alcohol and their drugs and their parties? And why don't they take me down the park and push me on the swings instead of take me down the park and say go on the swings while they're sitting in the car having a shot or having a drink? Oh, you're an inconvenience around me. And they put themselves above their children. You're getting hit now too, because that's what you did, and it's bloody not okay. This kid here is a result of your parenting, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Yeah. This square here, it's an E. You go to school one day after you've taken away the right for your parents to speak to your life away from you, and you don't fit with mum, you don't fit with dad. They're living their own life, they're not worried about you. And you go to school one day and someone says, hey, you see the cool kids from a distance, the girls with the short skirts, the boobs hanging out, the cool fellas, and someone says, hey, do you want a cone? Do you want a cigarette? Do you want a drink? One voice says, don't do it, you're mad. And the other voice says, oh, it's okay, they're doing it. They're having fun. And so you have the cone, or you have the cigarette, or you have the drink. You feel the euphoria of the chemicals in your brain, and it covers up the blanket of your heart. And all of a sudden you found a family. These kids, they understand me. They're just as damaged as what you are. But you feel like you're accepted. You feel like one of the crowd. Mum doesn't love me. Dad doesn't love me. I'm telling your story here. I'm telling your story. Am I telling your story? I'm telling your story too. Oh, you tattooed man. It's true, isn't it? So you have the cone and you have the drink, you have the smoke, and you go home. And this boy says, tell your mum or tell your dad. And this boy says, no, they don't love you. They don't care about you. Your brain thinks of all the hurt in here, all the anger, all the resentment, all the regret, all the guilt. And you think, yeah, no, I'm going to tell them, they don't care. And so you don't tell anybody. But you don't realise you become an A. A seed has been planted. And then you go to school a few days later after tiptoeing around the house feeling this conviction. The conviction says you should have took the shopping trolley back. It says that you shouldn't have smoked the cone. You shouldn't have had the drink. But you don't tell anybody. You keep it in there. But the dark has access to what's in the dark. The light has access to what's in the light. You're not just a fart in the wind. These dudes are really, really real. One wants to give you life, one wants to take your life. It's not a joke. I feel like I'm in a science fiction movie. You go to school a week later, or a few days later, the weekends, and you go to school on the Monday, and the cool kids, hey, wasn't that fun? Yeah, that was fun. Well, these kids normally don't speak to you, but hey, this was fun. And you start thinking, oh, yeah, I found somebody who understands. And they say, do you want a cone? Do you want a drink? Do you want to smoke? One voice says, don't do it, you're mad. This one, don't do it, you're mad. And this one says, oh, it's okay. You didn't hurt anybody, remember? And your brain, it goes from here, checks to here, thinks, yeah, I didn't hurt anybody. Who remembers the second time? And if a person believes a lie, that lie becomes their truth. Your brain is the doorway to your hard drive, your heart. You didn't hurt anybody, remember? Your brain will think and it will check with what's in your hard drive. Yeah, that's right, I didn't hurt anybody. And then the seed will sprout.